been here 3 years ago with the talents.
Yes.
Were you already thinking about this project back then, or is it something that grew?
Actually, it was. Yeah, this project's been on the table for quite a long time, actually, and kind of took a back seat for a while with other projects kind of coming to the fore. But yeah, there would have been. Yeah, it really has been a long time coming. So.
And what was the inspiration? Why did you feel like the relevance for this particular film?
It's semi-autobiographical. Very fictionalized into an 11-minute story, but the sort of discoveries and the emotions of it all are, kind of real things. So it was just a story I felt kind of needed told. And it seems to be quite a timely one as well, given that the world is waking up to this sort of idea of non-binary gender and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah.
How do you personally approach such projects? Where does it begin, and when do you
This one it took quite a long evolution. We developed it initially through Scottish Shorts, which is a government-funded shorts program. We developed it through them. Didn't get commissioned on the end of it, and then we're sort of just left with this sort of script with kind of no money behind it. But then once you kind of go, I don't know if it's the same here, but in the UK, once you kind of go through this sort of process, there's not really that many other places. So we like to get money from. So we then decided to crowdfund it. The question we asked ourselves was, rather than in an ideal world, what would we like to make this movie? We said, okay, in this world, what do we have to make this movie? And that's when we just started gathering friends. Essentially, this film was the crew and many of the cast are actually just sort of friends who I've known through filmmaking. And we all just kind of got together and made it, basically. Crowdfunded just over £10,000 to cover the production costs, really. So it's been a very community collaborative project.
And it's a proof that it works. That you don't necessarily have to have that state, public funding.
Absolutely, and with this one, projects, absolutely, and with this one in particular as well, because. You just kind of. We feel very vindicated, I suppose, that we kind of, having been rejection's always hard to take, So then when you don't get funded, it's always kind of crushing. And then we took it away and we reworked some other bits and pieces. And you'd see it from it, the number of kids that are in it, just from that alone makes it quite an ambitious project. So there were other things that were in it that were even more ambitious to begin with. So we kind of stripped a few things away, and then just kind of got people on board, and as soon as the momentum started going, that was kind of it, really.
So we were earlier talking about, I always imagine it to be kind of tough or challenging to work with kids and direct kids.
Yes.
And I'm also wondering how you were sort of communicating this entire gender question. Because, I guess these were kids that were in elementary school.
Yeah, they were all sort of between 6 and 12, really. So, and the lead...
It's really the age, and where this, I guess, you just said the world is opening up finally, but still, this is really the age where, institutions come in and really and you showed in the film too, so beautiful,
segregate you into your so boys and girls.
I feel like we're pressing it so successfully, I guess, and sometimes I go back to this time, but it's so violent, in a way, the way we are just destroyed by it to a certain extent.
Absolutely, and it's that thing of if you don't fit neatly into either category, then you just get sort of left in the middle, and it's quite humiliating. I remember being that age and being really humiliated if whether it be getting stopped by someone because I was going into the girls' toilets, or the teacher asked the boys to stand up and I stood up with them, or do you know what I mean? So it was just quite a lot of it's a tough time when you feel like you're alone at that age. But back to what you're saying about communicating it to the kids. The stroke of luck that we had finding our lead character, whose name is Lily. The lead character is Ollie, but the actress is Lily, and she kind of fell in our lap a few weeks before we were set to start shooting, and she was just she was the character. She's a little girl, but she has short hair. You would mistake her for a boy in the street, and as much as I don't know what her own personal, because she's 10, she's going to grow up. She can, she's got the whole world to be whatever she wants to be, but she just fitted the character. And I mean, everyone makes jokes about how alike we are. Like even like her 10-year-old me is a 32-year-old. That she was just a godsend. We didn't have to sort of cut any other kids' hair to try and force them into this sort of tomboy model or anything like that. She was what we were looking for.
What kind of conversations do you remember with her, and how did they?
We never really discussed. I think she, as far as I can sort of understand it, she read the script and read it with her parents, and it just clicked. So there wasn't. I didn't really have to have any kind of conversations about that, but. There were some of the other kids who weren't quite so understanding of it, that we had to sort of explain that it was actually a girl and these sorts of things. So, but it's also about kind of having a language to talk about it, and developing that language, which we are very limited to with boy, girl, he, she, all these sorts of things. So, it was interesting. But then kids, like I said to you before, but like kids are quite to direct. They don't, because they're not trained actors. Like you don't have to use that language, that sort of directing language with them. So you can ask them to, you can sort of order them around. But do you know what I mean? Like you do have to be much more of a puppet master in that regard, and particularly at 4 o'clock in the afternoon when they just glaze over and there's nothing left in them. Do you know what I mean? So, the challenges are just very different, I guess, to working with adults. So.
And how was it already played in Scotland, or did you already show it in Scotland?
Premiering. We have shown it. We held sort of cast and crew screenings, and they were quite big things because you had so many kids and so many parents and grandparents and everything all wanting to see it. But then we've also been working with LGBT Youth Scotland, which is an organisation, and we sort of had them on quite early, just to sort of not kind of consultant, but just we were looking for kids within that sort of kind of range that they would be able to put us in touch with, and they held a screening of Pride, and played our film as sort of the B-movie opener. So we had a short and then the opening, and that was for a bunch of LGBT youths.
And how did they react? Did they ask you questions? What was their reaction?
We haven't had anything but positive feedback from everybody. I mean, it's one of these films where it's such a positive film that it's quite hard to take anything negative from it. I think like the sort of the energy, which I think has a lot to do with us, like the sort of the tone and music and that sort of stuff. It puts a smile on everyone's face, which is great, which is kind of what we were intending. So a sort of social issues, but with positive spin is always good.
How important, and I guess if you watch the film, it is very important, like the aesthetics and like I don't know. The costumes and like how much did you think about that in advance? Like what role did all this play? The music.
We I mean things like sort of costume stuff, because there were so many people. That was there was a lot of kind of actors wearing their own and stuff. I think actually most of it was actually wearing their own, except for things like there was all the kilts and things for the Kaylee scene, the big dance scene at the beginning and things like that. So that was all had to be kind of gathered and everything in the usual way. But it was a lot of it was actors did their own makeup and hair and things like that, because we just you only have 4 hours with kids on set a day, so it was just kind of a lot of it was to sort of get it all together. But in regards to the music, that actually started off as originally in the script it was because we wanted this kind of cowboy thing going through, and it was originally written in as harmonica. And then when we started in post-production, started kind of playing around with ideas, Jeff Hannon, the composer, brought me the mariachi trumpet. He sort of composed a piece and sent it through, and as soon as I heard it, it was just like, that's it. Like that's the energy, that's the energy that will carry the film. all the way through. So yeah, that was a nice development that sort of took place through, you know, when you have it all and you're massaging it all together to try and make it into what it is, you know. So.
What did you take from it, and like, was it like an inspiration for longer projects, or
we
what did you learn?
do actually have a longer project developing. Is only at treatment stage at the moment with SFTN, which is the Scottish Filmmakers Talent Network. And the idea with that is rather than taking the 8-year-old story and extrapolating that, we're meeting the character later in life. So we're meeting her when she's 15, when she's 25, 30, and then at 42. So,
but all short, or is it
No, it'll be a feature film. But with it just these sort of interweaving timelines, and that we always had the idea that we might want to do it as a longer project, but then the feedback that we got from people, everybody was just like, I want to know more, you know, I want to see her, I want to know what happens to this kid. So that was kind of, it was motivating.
So how do you imagine the future? Because I was thinking that it's in a way she is very lucky because she seems to grow up in a very like caring social environment with like conscious parents, and you know, like I would say like a rather like middle class background where like there is a certain conscious or sense, you know, for it. And so would that mean that she might have like a brilliant, beautiful future, or like what did you think about that? Like,
she definitely it does come from a lucky place, and that was actually something that was we did discuss that, and we're quite keen on that, particularly with Scottish film. There's quite a lot of it can tend to be on the dour side sometimes, that we have we just wanted it to be happy, and her antagonists are not specific people, or do you know what I mean? It wasn't that there was an abusive father or these kinds of, you know, these sorts of kind of tropes that kind of seemed to be repeated. We wanted loving parents that were in as much as sort of a dilemma themselves, you know. It's like, what do you do when you have a kid who doesn't conform to gender types? Like it's kind of tricky for everybody involved. So and we were just very keen that it was the antagonist was these sort of outside forces as well as something inside. So
What do you think about this scene when she sort of like sneaks out and is like watching, you know, this
through the window,
other family through the window? Like, what is that like? A look into some sort of like desired future, or like just a possibility, you know?
Possibility, This the idea that that was very much it. That was like, it's that scene. Where she sees the family with the two moms, or sort of puts it together really, and realises that is something that there's not just sort of two options. You can't. It's not just being a mum or a dad. You know what I mean? Or mum and dad, I suppose. So, which is something that she hadn't really considered before. Given that most of what society gives us is, you know, I'd be very male, or you're going to be very female, she understands something, and then goes on the journey to. That was something that was important as well, is that she was the one who rescued herself, if you see what I mean. So she puts the bits together.
I think it's very beautiful, because I feel so much of queer film in the past has had to like deal with all those like missing like infrastructures, and you know the isolation of, you know, protagonists, or the people, like the characters driving the plot. And here you have like a very young person who is struggling, or like who confronts, you know, like just difficulties growing up into a heteronormative society, which it still is. But there seem to be ways, you know, like the soccer, like the, you know, like older girls who like have this soccer club where, you know, she's accepted, and so it's nice, it's beautiful, because you see that like there are like infrastructures being built, you know, and there are possibilities, and it's not as, you know, like depressing. I feel like we've internalized this so much too, and it's I think you did a really great job with that.
Oh, thank you.
And it's not like not too romantic, or like, you know.
I think we kind of borrow this sort of 8-year-old perspective or I don't know whether we borrow the 8-year-old perspective or I put my perspective into an 8-year-old. I'm not so sure, but we wanted it to be very much like felt from sort of the injustice that she experiences, to then sort of overcoming it herself. And a bit like with the football at the end, the soccer at the end, it was like all she has to do is go and ask to join in. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of her getting over her internal. Anyway, it sort of starts, spoiler alert, but it starts at the beginning with her not being allowed to play with the boys anymore because she's sort of reached that age and the sort of segregating of the sexes. But she doesn't want to go and play with the girls. Like that's sort of, it's not, that's not how she necessarily sees herself, or just doesn't really understand why she's being excluded from one group and forced to join another by default. But then it's her internal growth and realizations that then allow her to sort of accept just to sort of that it's kind of almost like up to her to choose how she. It's not just these laws and rules that adults impose, you know. It's she's now joining in, and now she gets to shape it how she wants to. So.
Very beautiful. I hope you will have great discussions and just confrontations with people here at the festival.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure they'll enjoy it a lot, especially the young crowd.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Non-binary gender and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah.
How do you personally approach such projects? Where does it begin, and when do you
This one it took quite a long evolution. We developed it initially through Scottish shorts. Very fictionalized into an 11-minute story, but the sort of discoveries and the emotions of it all are, kind of real things. So it was just a story I felt kind of needed told, and it seems to be quite a timely one as well, given that the world is waking up to this sort of idea.
You've already been here 3 years ago with the talents.
Yes.
Were you already thinking about this project back then, or is it something that you?
Actually, it was. Yeah, we this project's been on the table, which is a government-funded shorts program. We developed it through them. Didn't get commissioned on the end of it, and then we're sort of just left with this sort of script with kind of no money behind it. But then once you kind of go, I don't know if it's the same here, but in the UK, once you kind of go through this sort of process, there's not really that many other places. So we like to get money from. So we then decided to, for quite a long time actually, and kind of took a back seat for a while with other projects kind of coming to the fore. But yeah, there would have been. Yeah, it's been this. It really has been a long time coming. So.
And what was the inspiration? Why did you feel like the relevance for this particular film?
It's semi-autobiographical.